was born and raised here. I'm actually fifth generation.
I was in the service for 10 years, the Air Force actually, in a construction unit.
That's right, active duty.
I spent most of my time in a unit called Red Horse. It was heavy construction. I actually spent most of my time overseas in Europe, Middle East, Panama, North Africa, all over actually. That was what was good about the career field I was in. We traveled all over doing construction projects at different installations and radar sites, listening sites, satellite sites, all kinds of stuff. So I've always liked gardening, and when I grew up, we always had a garden when I was a kid. And, so I've always liked gardening, but the neighbor actually down the road here had been growing these giant pumpkins, and one day at work he told me to come by after work and see his giant pumpkins he was growing. And so that was kind of interesting, and he mentioned something about it was kind of a challenge. He said, "You'll never grow one like this." So that was what got me into it. It was kind of what spurred me on to try it, you know. See, actually there's a baby pumpkin right there. These are the babies. There's a young pumpkin prior to the flower opening. Here's another one. And this is a female flower. And this is actually a male flower right here. As you can see, the male flower doesn't have a pumpkin on it. Yeah, so that's. I try to start about 15 seeds. Well, no, let's put that 30 seeds. So I'll have 15 choices, and then I narrow it down. And this year, the extra plants I had I actually gave to my friend down the road, and he's got some plants going too. So some of the best pumpkins I've grown, it seems like, have come from small, seeds that don't really look like they're going to do a whole lot. Our best pumpkin out there right now was on these tiny little runty looking seeds. So we usually set them outside, what they call setting them out, set the plants out. Usually this year I think it was about the 1st of May, maybe to about the 4th of May. And we actually prepare the planting sites in advance. This year we used their little mini greenhouses with a wood frame. They're about 7 foot long, 5 foot wide. And I actually put soil heating cables out in the soil in the planting area. The soil heating cables cover an area about 6 foot square, and that way the soil's kept at 70 degrees because the plants do a lot better with warm soil. They uptake nutrients better in a warm soil. So basically about a week before we plant, we have all the growing areas ready, the little mini greenhouses set out there. The soil is usually up to temperature by then. And that's when I usually put 2 plants in each hill. And usually within a week or two you can tell which plant's going to be the dominant, and which one you want to keep. So that's what we do. We weed out the bad one, or the one that's not doing as well. And here in Vermont, we've had frosts all the way up into late June. Or 3rd week of June we've had them before. So the little greenhouses, basically, this year we had to put a greenhouse inside of a greenhouse because we actually had some really cold nights. This pumpkin actually came off of one of our own seeds. It's about as high as I can get it, I guess, for now. But that came from a pumpkin that came from our pumpkin last year that weighed 723.5 pounds.
Wow.
And it's got good genetics on it. As you can see, the sand it's growing on is cracked a little bit, and that's a good sign. As long as that sand is cracking, it's growing. So it's a good indicator. Usually every day I'll go by and kind of smooth this back out, and as the pumpkin grows, you have to add sand to it too. And, I guess your minimum is about 1 inch of rain a week, and this summer we've had a lot of rain, and we haven't had to irrigate at all. We've been getting like 1 1/4 inch, 1.5 inches, 2 inches of rain every week, so we haven't had to do any watering really, up until actually this week, where things are starting to dry out. So With 10 plants, I've been putting on about 300 to 400 gallons a day. So um, that's about average.
And you have soaker hoses that you put down and
Yeah, actually they're drip tubing.
drip tubing.
Yeah, drip tubing. There's a water emitter every 18 inches, and they cover not the whole plant, but they cover probably 350 to 400 square foot of the plant. And the idea with these, I think, is to maintain a consistent soil moisture level, because if you vary a lot in soil moisture, it can cause problems real bad. It's kind of scary on a windy day. If the tank's full and the trees are moving, you can hear it really groan, because that's, well, 300 gallons of water is what? 2 times 3, it's like 2,600 pounds. So basically the soil here is really good. Sharon's great-grandfather grew corn here, cornfields, for the dairy farm basically. So we have a really good, it's a loam, mainly loam soil, and so that's the first good part of it. We do add cow manure, composted cow manure. I grow green manure crops, they call it, winter rye, clover, and turn that into soil. And it kind of seems like the more work you put into the soil, that's the most beneficial. As far as chemical fertilizers, I don't think it's a good idea, because if you put too much chemicals on it, it actually has a toxic effect to the plant, and it seems to stunt the plant. Kind of locks, it'll stall them out, you know. And so what we found is basically just do what is the most beneficial to the plant. And we use seaweed fertilizer, fish and seaweed, and we have some other organically based fertilizers we mainly use. There are a few chemical ones, but it's